Yeah, this is the Seton Rivals podcast. Yes, it is. It's that time. We're moving. We're flowing into the football season. The podcast keeps getting bigger and bigger. Multiple platforms. Sports 360 AZ, fantastic. Facebook page, fantastic. Arizona Podcast Network on Twitter, Arizona Varsity Podcast Network on Twitter. Fantastic. You're able to catch what we do week in and week out. And you know what? Week in and week out, our football teams, the 8 teams that we cover, they do pretty good. This week, the big schools, they were 4-1. The smaller schools, 2-1. And who better to help me out and go in depth on each school? 2 of my guys, Ralph Amsden, along with Chili. We have been with you guys 12 years and running. And hey, as always, it is nothing short of fantastic. 6-2 week, which we'll dive in. But Ralph, as I always like to start off with, let's talk about something non-football in your world. It can be anything and everything.
Well, I garden. So we tore out all the summer stuff for the fall stuff. That's how exciting my life is at this point. Is tearing out dead plants, giving them to chickens, and putting in new ones. That I spent my entire Sunday, like 14 straight hours out in the sun. It was awesome.
That's fair. That is fair. You have seasons. You can be out in your yard on a Sunday. So that
I noticed it was like 114 in Arizona on, I think it was last Friday.
Yes.
Or Friday, Saturday, something like that. And the high here was 79. And that felt pretty good.
Yeah, that's it's tough, but fortunately I think our temperatures are starting to dwindle down, which will lead me to kind of my fun thing. A lot of people don't realize, I don't even know if you guys know, I'm a big golfer. I'm a huge
I knew that.
Fair enough. I don't know if you knew the extent of it. I like to get after it as often as I can. This is that time of year where you can take full advantage of it. I say that because the temperatures are dropping, but the big thing is the snowbirds have not arrived yet. So you get that 30-day window where you get summer pricing on semi-empty courses. So it's so I've got a time next Tuesday morning, Ralph, actually in your old neck of the woods down in Maricopa.
Oh yeah,
with another guy named Ralph. So it's
no. That's not possible that you are going to Maricopa and golfing with another human that we know or that you know named Ralph. You know two Ralphs.
Who lives in literally the same neighborhood that I moved out of.
Absolutely.
And it's not this Ralph.
It is not. No, Chili, you were not there. I want to say it was 7 years ago. It was at Chandler High School. I want to say it was early in the season, week 2 or 3, and I had been wanting to make an introduction that I had finally gotten to. I was like, Ralph, meet Ralph. And ironically, the Ralph has moved from Maryland, and he lives basically, what do we say, a couple miles or in the same neighborhood?
No,
basically.
like 3 streets over. Yeah.
So that's that's just very very odd / ironic. So yes, that's what I'll be doing next Tuesday, and I'll be golfing as often as I can over the next, we'll say, 4 weeks or so. Chili, what you got, my man?
Oh, nothing. I'm just, trying to make sure that my pool stays clean before it gets, to the non-swimmable season. And I just jump in there to treat it like a big cold tub. But yeah, I'm just trying to hang out and get some rest on Sunday, Monday, and do the things that we do. Just hang out, chop it up with you guys, talk some high school football, baseball occasionally, and, Cardinals. I know how Ralph feels about last week's game, but Brett, I'm curious, your thoughts, Cardinals, Bills. Any takeaways?
This is going to sound crazy. This past Sunday, no football for me.
That's not true. Hold on, Brett. This is one of my favorite things that a lot of people don't know that you do, unless they've been a long time listener of the podcast. Your fantasy football, college football thing. where you just I love it. How's your team doing?
1 win and 1 loss. So I
Okay.
won opening week, but this past week took it on the chin. I didn't get the good wide receiver production. And then also I think there's going to be a changing of the guard at quarterback. Shedeur Sanders had a fantastic week 1, not so much week 2. And I think that quarterback's struggling. And I'll just rattle off my quarterbacks for you. I have Shedeur Sanders, Miller Moss, USC, Drew Aller, Graham Mertz, and we get a legacy pick. I don't even know if I've told you about the legacy pick. So we take a high school guy, we take a high school senior, and so he has grown into Eli Holstein is one of my guys. He's a starter pick. Yeah, because he was that 5-star going to Alabama a few years ago, and things didn't work out there. He had a good game, so I think he might be my starter this week.
You know, that's like Chili's guy, right? Like, Eli Holstein is like Chili's favorite quarterback.
Oh wow!
First off, Brett, you have yourself, and this Seton Ralph's podcast going to take a turn for a little bit, but
that's for you.
Brett, you have an absolute savage at quarterback in Eli Holstein. I just want to let you know that.
Good.
And
I'm hoping
he's going to be a freaking stud, throw like 40 touchdowns and 4 billion yards, and he's going to be he's going to be like Drake May, but now he's going to be like Drake May.
With that being said, I will ask both of you.
Not Drake May with the Patriots, but Drake May with North Carolina.
At Carolina. I'll ask both of you guys, what do you think of my most recent legacy pick? He's committed to Ohio State, Tavian St. Clair.
Oh, I like him. I think that he's good. I think he's a little raw, but he's a baller. They got some dudes over there. That quarterback room is super impressive and deep. You might have to hold on to him for a few years, but you're not really going to need him because Eli Holstein a dude.
When you take a high school guy, you can't trade him. You can't release it. He's on your team for life. So I am
that's
like
crazy.
Last year, this time I was saying to myself, I was stuck with Eli Holstein because it's like, all right, but I'm very glad I'm stuck with him.
Dang.
So yeah.
How did we never have this conversation before? And Ralph got to actually talk about him during ACC like media day. This is like the ACC town rivals now. So
that's a good.
But no, but Ralph knew that I had the relationship, and Ralph, being a good human, good friend, he actually brought Eli's name up, tried to mix that thing up. So I thought that was cool. Man, that's crazy. Hey, life comes at you full circle.
Well, and I'm gonna throw one more at you. If we're talking ACC, Fran Brown, Syracuse. I haven't been this excited about Syracuse football in a long time. I mean, we know the two teams I root for, one in State College, PA, and the other in Austin, but over the last 3 years, I've really renewed my ties with the school and with the football program.
This is why you can't give me crap for having 2 schools, because Brett now has 3, so you can't do that to me anymore.
I didn't give you crap. That was just the Brown in Wyoming. Anyways, let's talk about your other favorite teams. All these C-Town teams, bro. Let's get started. Now we can officially start the podcast.
That is fair. Fair enough. And we will begin with the Valley Christian Trojans. Unfortunately, they were blown out by the Thatcher Eagles, 31-13. They actually had the lead in this game. Isaiah Messias, he had a touchdown pass, but Chili, honestly, in the end, Thatcher was just way too much for them.
Yeah, look, Thatcher's one of those teams that can be overwhelming, the way that they run the ball and their commitment to doing such. Coach, I think it's Coach Jones up there still. I think that, he does a great job of sticking to what they are best at. And they thug it out in the trenches, and they're very, very blue collar. They are very, very blue collar over there. So, look, this is one of those early season tests that, you just have to hope that you get the opportunity to get back later on. Last year, Valley Christian was able to try it again, try to dance with Paradise Honors one more time after taking a thumping in the regular season. And they got that opportunity in the postseason. Now they have to hope to be able to do the same thing with Thatcher.
I hear you. Ralph, 1-2. After that week 1 blowout win over Tempe, I certainly did not expect them to drop back-to-back games. It's, it's still a formidable team, but 1-2, it's like, wow.
The the Valley Christian loss is a little deceptive on the scoreboard. Valley Christian had the ball down 6 late in the fourth. So they had the ball down 6 late in the fourth. They got into a position where you kind of have to go for it on fourth down. They didn't get it. Thatcher scores. And so that should have been the end of the game, but Valley Christian got the ball back, marched all the way down the field into the end zone, and with no time left, threw a 100-yard pick six.
Oh wow!
This was Thatcher was the better team. Like, not just on the scoreboard, but like the fact that Valley Christian even had the opportunity to win late in the game was surprising. And so, but they did. I want to make sure, like, more than halfway through the fourth quarter, Valley Christian with the ball down 6, they decide not to punt, turnover on downs deep in their own territory. Thatcher capitalizes on it right away. Valley Christian marches down 100-yard pick 6 to end the game. So 2 garbage time touchdowns by Thatcher make this score look a lot different than it is. But I still feel like it was pretty clear one team was better than the other. That's something Valley Christian's going to have to take into account. They're going to have to find a way to win close games because the same thing happened against Florence.
I think Valley Christian, they just need somebody to step up, right, and really show that they can, keep doing their thing. Like Ralph said, I think Ethan Hodgson is one of those guys, but like they got dudes over there like Gomez and Rockefeller. Like they really have to take that leadership role because I think right now, either I don't want to say juggling the quarterbacks or the two-headed quarterback situation, just trying to figure out where the leadership comes from. Because in the past, on offense, it has always come from that quarterback position. Now I think they're trying to figure out, where they're going to take those cues from.
I think you're right. Now they're still trying to figure some things out, and we'll talk about their next opponent. I think it's going to be a good one. The Seton Catholic Sentinels. They pitch a shutout. They blank St. Mary's 22-0. You've got to go all the way back to September 22nd, 2017 to find out the last time that Seton Catholic actually put up a shutout. They blanked Coronado that night, 38-0. Luke Aguilar, he was the man of the hour for Seton Catholic this past Friday night. 240 yards on the ground and a pair of scores defensively. Nico Pastore had 2 of the team's 4 interceptions. Ralph, it's nice to see this team kind of turn that corner. They're not there yet necessarily, but 4 interceptions as a team, that's nice. And 240-plus yards on the ground, that's nice as well.
Yeah, so Max Preps has Luke Aguilar listed at 242 yards rushing. Guys, I think that's the most ever for a single player. I swear on my life. There might be stuff pre-Max Preps, but Mikey Castro had the record. From what I understand, Mikey Castro got it as a sophomore against St. Mary's. He had 241. But our guy Campanella he went 227 once. Antonio
and he rushed for over $3,000 in his career.
And he wasn't, but he also played in like 4 fourth quarters ever. So, his numbers were a little bit depressed. But yeah, I think Luke Aguilar now has the most rushing yards, and he might have the most total offensive yards because I think he had 41 yards receiving or something like that too, or 31. He had 273 yards total offense or something like that. So, I mean, not only did they beat St. Mary's, I think he bested Mikey Castro's rushing yards record, which also took place against St. Mary's.
Wow. Yeah. That's Chile. They got the workhorse they need. The passing game still, at least on this past Friday, not as sharp as we'd like, but I'm comfortable with Chase Dixon back there. I mean, I think it's kind of like Valley Christian. They still have to kind of find some things, but having that back who can carry the ball 30-plus times, and Ralph, as you said, with some receiving yards, it's good to see.
And Luke's a guy that I brought up, I think, in the preview, and I said that this is a guy that's got to step up and really show who he is. Walheim talked about it last year, though, and I think in the interview with you, Brett, he talked about, like, they were going to be very, very good this year. They were going to compete this year. They were going to be solid this year. A lot of what took place last year was in an attempt to try to build for the future, which, started, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago or whatever. So I think that, this is an opportunity for Seton to try to capitalize on a victory. And look, last year, I believe they were able to capitalize on 1 victory and get 2 in a very, very short week. And hopefully they can do that again.
Absolutely.
Not short week, but
Wow.
you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Wow. Valley Christian, Seton Catholic, Friday night. I would pencil myself, not even pencil. I'd love to be at this game. I'm committed to Mountain Point Casteel. That's where I'm going to go to. But
Big school.
Ralph, the last 2 times these squads have met, it's been very lopsided in the favor of the 3A team. This year, it has a chance, I'll say, a probability of not being lopsided. And who knows, maybe the 4A team wins. I mean, this is just, it's a very intriguing game. And if Seton Catholic pulls this off, it's like, all right, wow, they're 2-1 with projecting a favorable schedule, not even the schedule, but it's like they can beat good teams. We already saw them hang with Ironwood Ridge. If VC falls to 1-3, it's like, wow. I mean, I got to get your thoughts on both sides and how this could play out. It's meaningful for both schools of faith.
Yeah, it would leave Valley Christian with no room for error the rest of the way. You can certainly get it, and they don't have an open to worry about. So, you know, they're not worried about like, you know, are we chasing PowerPoints or anything like that?
Right.
The assumption is that Thatcher is going to continue to be very good. The assumption is that Florence looks great. They'll probably continue to look great. They could technically lose to Seton Catholic, but then they'd have to rattle off 6 in a row to make sure that they're in that playoff picture, playing against teams that they've played close. So it means a lot for Valley Christian. Seton Catholic has just got to keep riding this wave. You know, we talked about Luke Aguilar's 242. He had 198 against Ironwood Ridge. It's very, very tough to blow out a team that has the ability to eat up yards, right? Because it's just not a bunch of repeated 3 and outs. So if you can keep Valley Christian's offense off the field, you've got a chance. I'm excited to get updates from this game because we waited forever for this game to be played and it has never really been good. So, you know, I don't think Valley Christian has a natural rival. I think that Seton Catholic has the other Catholic schools they play sometimes, like St. Mary's, but St. Mary's rival is Brophy. Brophy's kind of left them in the dust or whatever. And so it would be cool to have these 2 schools have their own version of some type of, you know, C-Town rivalry, a West Side rivalry or something like that. But yeah, I'm very excited for the updates from this game.
You've always wanted this to be the rivalry, Ralph.
Yeah.
This is what you've always wanted. You've always promoted to me and Brett that you wanted to see Seton and Valley Christian have something annually where they play each other. And maybe we should make them like a little C-Town Cup or something like that to kind of push them into that. Brett, look, you said that you said that, you know, if you weren't committed to another game, that this is a game that you would be at. Now you got me curious. Like, what would you be looking forward to seeing the most in this game?
I'm curious to see what Valley Christian can do offensively. I mean, as you guys said when we talked about the Trojans earlier, that leadership, that stability had always come from the quarterback. And then you had guys like Caden Majersic a few years back. They always had a guy who they could go to. They make it as simple. They always had a go-to guy. Now it's like, okay, is it the QB? Who else is going to step up from a running game? Obviously, they had a strong kicking game back in the day. Right. There's a lot of parts that haven't connected for VC, and that's what I want to see because, again, they started a week early. They're a third into their season, more or less. So we've got to see what their identity is and who's going to be stepping up. And the same holds true for Seton Catholic. It's like, yes, we know Dixon, we know Aguilar. Who's going to be that wideout? Who's going to be the receiver? Because, yes, Dixon threw some interceptions last week. Can that passing game become a threat to sort of be that offshoot of the strong running game? So there's a lot of things that we have to look for. And the fact that the game means so much to both teams, that makes it huge.
Hey, Brett, building off of that, do you guys think that Valley Christian, this is must win? Like, are they at that point? Ralph, I know you said that they don't have an open to worry about and they have to rattle off 6 victories. But I'm curious, each of you guys, do you think that this is now must win? Are their backs to the wall? Like, they have to win this game. Otherwise, they're looking possibly on being on the outside of the playoffs.
I feel that way because they still, like, here's what's left in that 6 games. Scottsdale Christian, one of the higher ranked 2A teams. Gilbert Christian, which is sneaky sometimes. Paradise Honors, which has, you know, they beat Mojave I think Mojave's down and out with some sickness or whatever. But they end the season with Payson and Benjamin Franklin. Payson's 3-0 right now, and Benjamin Franklin looks like one of the better teams in 3A, possibly even the class of the division that they share with Valley Christian. So putting yourself in a situation where you have to win 6 in a row, or even 5 out of 6 with 2 games on there that could potentially be toss-ups. Payson's a tough team, and playing them late in the season can be tough as well with that rushing attack. So, yeah, I mean, it is very, very important for Valley Christian to come out and try to get this. It would also give them an 8-6 all-time lead in the series. If Seton steals one, then it'll be back to 7-7.
Brett? This is good stuff. I mean, we think about how deep this 3A is, and if they do fall to 1-3, at first glance, when you ask the question, I'm like, well, yeah, they're definitely still going to be one of the best 16 teams in 3A. But as you guys rattled off, it's like there's a lot of teams that can put you down. And yes, if they lose this, yeah, it's serious uphill battle. And now it's not about doubting themselves. It's about the talk of, okay, if they're 1-3, are they going to win 5 or 6 in a row? I don't know if they can necessarily. If they fall to 1-3, now we might be looking at a 5-5, a 6-14, one of those Jeff Rutledge type teams that truly was on that cusp. So it's going to be, they've got some questions, and this is a huge game. I mean, it's one that, yeah, I really would love to see. I'll see them in action a couple weeks later against, Ralph, you mentioned Scottsdale Christian. I'm going to check that out. That's on a Thursday. So, yeah, we'll see. But, yeah, Valley Christian has a lot riding in this contest. For them, it's good that they're at home. We know that they have that good school spirit, the pomp and circumstance, perhaps even a little bit more than Seton Catholic from a home standpoint. So we'll see what the Trojans can bring. It'll be a good one. No, I'm glad we were able to really kind of go in depth on this one. Another small school, which sometimes doesn't even feel like a small school, the Arizona College Prep Knights. They pick up their first win of the season. They shut out the Apache Junction Prospectors 48-0. This is the type of game that Steve Vaught wants to see. Your quarterbacks don't have to do too much. Alec Grant, 149 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Max Sasso, Tyler Louder, they got plenty of carries. Ralph, as you know, kind of what we talked about with Seton Catholic just now, if you can rush the ball and you have a good defense, you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah. I mean, that's I keep thinking about University of Colorado, right? Like, so much talent, but football always comes down to 2 things. Can you run the ball? Can you stop the run? You can mask those things. You can get away with it for so long, but even our guy, Mike Leach, who was probably the best coach Mississippi State's had in a long time, best coach Texas Tech's had in a long time, best coach Washington State's had in a long time. Always in the mix, never over the hump, because what couldn't they do? Run the ball, stop the run. Probably the best ever coach at masking those things, but at the end of the day, it really just does come down to those things.
Chili, always good to see them get a win. It'll be the first of many that we think, and it's hey, what can you do? A win.
Yeah. Hey, look, I guess kind of statement victory, big shutout, after going to Indiana and taking the L up there. So really showing who they are. They ran the ball extremely effectively. And I think that this is a team that we kind of know has a pass game that can do what they need to do when they need to do it. Heinrich, Sanchez, some of those guys. Look, I think that ACP is going to be just fine. I think Coach Vaught's got them going the right direction. A shutout, none of us should be surprised a Coach Vaught team shut somebody out.
Correct, and they'll host. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. None of us should be surprised, but I mean, Aiden DeLeon, he's never. Apache Junction went 1-9 last year, 1-9, but they were still cooking on offense, right? 2,100 yards passing, 745 yards rushing. Aiden DeLeon on his own was responsible for 30 touchdowns. He did not have a single game last year where he didn't score, not one.
Wow.
So, he didn't throw a touchdown or run for a touchdown in the Snowflake game, but they still scored 20 points against Snowflake. This shutout could be indicative of a very, very good Arizona College Prep team.
Good. We want to see that domination. And hopefully that domination continues. They'll host 2-0 Estrella Foothills on Friday. The Wolves are actually averaging 41 points a game. The Casteel Colts, they lose a tough one, 39-38 to the Queen Creek Bulldogs. Paul Palmer, senior quarterback, great game, 322 passing yards and 3 TDs, all to Mason Lewis. Those are the only 3 footballs that Mason Lewis actually caught all night. He had 208 yards. What a fourth quarter, Ralph. But here we are talking about defense. And if you give up 27 points in a final period, you're probably going to come up short.
Yeah, that game was online. It looked like Casteel was competitive. I turned away from it in the fourth quarter, and then you just get the shocking result of, did they give up 4 touchdowns there at the end? That's a tough one to come back from. If you're coaching a team, because who do we always think of when we think of like the dam just broke on them? We think of that the Hamilton team was a 2016 against Centennial.
Yep, 27 fourth quarter points. Yes.
Wasn't that? It was the same amount. That's always what I come back to is like, that when that happened, that was indicative of several problems snowballing over time. Casteel needs to get to a point where they just win the next game and forget what just happened. Like, they got to be able to toss that in the trash heap so that it doesn't become this is the chapter marker of when things started to fall apart.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. Chile, they seemingly have a couple of senior running backs who I think they're going to have to learn how to close out games. It's that running game that it seems like this podcast is the theme of. It's like, you got to run the ball. You got to convert on third down. You got to chew up a little bit of the clock. I don't necessarily know if they were worried about that against Queen Creek going in, but you got to close that game out. And this team is too experienced to not do that.
Yeah, look, I think Linier's special. I think that he can do some things out there. And, this team is loaded with talent on offense. And Paul Palmer, this is what I've expected to see from him for so long, just able to put that thing out there, get it to his receivers. Mason Lewis has been a pleasant surprise at receiver. I've always known that he's been a capable offensive weapon, but I thought that I remember him playing some running back and stuff earlier in his career. This guy that with the ball in his hands, he's super dynamic. Also, Elijah Beeman, not sure what's going on, but super talented offensive weapon over there who I think is capable of doing a lot of things and helping this team break loose. So they have the pieces. They definitely have the pieces, and I think that shows. Queen Creek, much improved from last year. Much improved from the team that I saw last year. So that they were able to, put things together in the fourth quarter and come out with a victory, I'm not so surprised. But, those running backs, they have to take some accountability for, just ball control down the stretch, making sure that they're churning out the yards so that they're not giving the ball back.
I'm looking forward to this week. Casteel Colts hosting the Mountain Point Pride. I've said that I want to really embrace and understand this Casteel team a little bit more. And this Mountain Point team, I think, will certainly present some challenges. And I think this Colt team, much like Perry, and we'll talk about them shortly, it's like they just keep floating around. We know that they're good, but they haven't gotten over that hump. They're in a tough region to do so, but I think this is a great test. They last met a couple years ago. Casteel actually blew out Mountain Point in the postseason back in 2022. So we'll see if the new transfer from Mountain Point, what type of reps and time he gets. And Chile, I think you have an answer to that. And I'm looking to see Paul Palmer in person.
I am hearing that that Butter will not be playing this week. I don't know though. I don't know for sure. It might be splitting reps or some sort, but I think that Robert Knorr is probably gonna handle the bulk of the workload, and we'll see what happens. I'm curious to find out myself. And Brett, I will be tuned into your Twitter to find out who that starting quarterback is over there at Mountain Point and who is taking those reps and throwing the ball around.
Regardless of who Mountain Point plays at quarterback, Casteel is not going to see what they saw last week. That doesn't exist anywhere else. Tate Reynolds is probably like the strongest quarterback the state of Arizona has ever seen.
That's facts. That's definitely facts.
He's I mean, I know Justin Gaethje played some quarterback for Safford. That's a tough dude, right? But Tate Reynolds is on pace to challenge the 6A rushing touchdown career record. He's a quarterback. So you have Queen Creek running 63 plays. Casteel gets no sacks, only 5 tackles for loss. That's not a recipe for success. And a big part of that is because Tate Reynolds is at quarterback. So I'm not as worried about Casteel as if, it had just been your run-of-the-mill talented quarterback that they were facing. This is actually somebody who physically has the ability to put the whole team on his shoulders, literally and figuratively.
Right. There's a reason he's going to Clemson. No, you're right.
Right.
It's very true. The Perry Pumas, they're up next. They hit the road and they get the win. They defeat Granite Hills out of San Diego by a score of 39-21. Chile, that offense just continues to flow. Senior Nate Wheeler with a couple of rushing touchdowns. Maddox Ford, he finds pay dirt. This team is going to score early and often all year long.
Yeah, hey, they have a special quarterback over there. Cale Snyder is the real deal. Love watching him do his thing. Love watching his highlights and things like that. LJ Walker, they got a nice, formidable receiving core over there that's capable of, really lighting that scoreboard up. LJ Walker being one of those guys. I saw Nate Wheeler go off. Maddox Ford's a dude. Peyton Greco over there. Wendell Schaefer. Amos Augustine, the young guy. They got some dudes, and Hayden Moon. Hayden Moon is absolutely explosive when he gets an opportunity to see the ball come his way. Defensively, they got guys too. So this is a team that is very, very well rounded. And Granite Hills is solid competition. Granite Hills is a good school over there. So going over to Cali, beating a Cali team, man, I'm hyped. I'm excited. Coach Ortiz has done it again.
He definitely has. Ralph, I'll ask you, we were just talking about Tate Reynolds and his strength and Queen Creek. They take on a Perry team that actually has a short work week, so to speak. They played on Saturday, not Friday. Not sure how much that factors in, but the strength of Tate Reynolds and what Queen Creek can do could cause problems, perhaps. I'm not saying, and we've all gotten away from the predictions, so to speak, of game type scenario, but this is a game Queen Creek team.
It is. The one thing that they can do to slow him down is make sure he's not even taking the field. There's nothing that suggests that Queen Creek is a defensive stalwart this year. And Perry comes in averaging almost 25 points a game in the first half alone. You love big chunk plays, but if you have the ability, you get an 8-yard run off tackle, take 25 seconds before you snap the ball.
That's right.
And, I'm not saying like go out there and just try to bleed the clock or get out of rhythm, but like,
you don't always have to be quick strike.
Yes. No, especially if every second that ticks by is you giving an assist to your defense, especially when you saw what Queen Creek could do in just a short amount of time. So I guess resist the urge to be left lane hammer down, Todd Graham style, and just, take your time, pick them apart if you can, keep Tate Reynolds off the field. I don't know. Like, honestly, after watching that guy, I don't know. And Perry should know this. They had Chubba Purdy, right?
Sure.
Chubba Purdy physically was dominant. And so and there weren't really teams, even Chandler couldn't shut Chubba down when he got out on the run. So just limit the opportunity. I think Perry should be fine.
Good stuff. Very good stuff. We will move on to the Hamilton Huskies. They improved to 2-0 on the year. They defeat the Desert Ridge Jaguars 35-21. Kind of a ho-hum game, kind of. I mean, getting the win was important. Nothing exciting, and perhaps this is that team's identity. I'll say the one thing, Ralph, at least Rich Lucero was not the leading scorer. That's something we're like, they don't need that to happen. That was good to see. And hey, they didn't score the 45 or 47 that we were thinking them and Basha would combine for. They scored 35, but that's fine. They got the win, Ralph, and that's what we need. They don't need to be flashy.
Yeah, and I think Chili and I talked about this a little bit on Tuesday of just, you do need to get some guys work. And if you go into halftime up 35-0 against a team you're pretty convinced can't score 35 in a game, much less a half, then you're going to want to see what else you have. That's going to give Hamilton the opportunity to assess the second level, right? And what they need to do to get them ready. It was scary hours there for a minute, but the truth is, if you were watching this game, it was very cool what Roy Lopez's team did and stayed in that game and stayed fighting. But this game was over 8 seconds in when Hamilton returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. Yeah. So I look at what Hamilton did, and you figure if they left their starters in until the fourth quarter, then you might have gotten that 40 plus, probably would have gotten that 40 plus that you were referring to. And then Chili brought up that he'd heard the starters had to come back in the game. That's not an easy thing to do when you've been sitting over the sideline, looking up, waving at your grandparents, blowing kisses at your girlfriend. Your mind is somewhere else. You're thinking about, are we hitting in and out? Are we going to the one on Gilbert and 202? Like, all that stuff's going through your head. And then all of a sudden, Coach Dixon's like, you're back in. And that team is on fire right now. Good luck. So I don't know. I don't think that Hamilton has anything to worry about from this game, but you can bet that there's going to be some emphasis on making sure you finish the job.
Chili, who are some guys that we need to look for as we move deeper into the season? I mean, we've talked about the Sabrian Torres and the Linders on defense. What else comprises, I'm going to say, the backbone of this Hamilton team, on both sides of the ball?
Man, this is going to sound so crazy. I don't think I've ever really done this for Hamilton or Chandler, like at this level of what you are asking. This Roy Oliver kid is something else. He is absolutely special. This receiver that they have, he's a freshman. He's a playmaker. Early on in his career, I think having a senior quarterback like Rich Lucero over there, able to help guide him, mentor him, and lead him a little bit. This kid could very, very different, and he's playing as a freshman. They've also got a backup quarterback up there on varsity who's a freshman, Jack Scully. This is a guy for the future, obviously, but I think he threw like almost 10 passes last week. He played a lot. Desert Ridge, so he played a lot. He obviously got a lot of work in that second half. He didn't turn the ball. I didn't see any interceptions in the box score. So this is a kid that I'm super high on, that I was hoping to get to see on a Wednesday, but I probably won't because he's obviously taking reps on varsity. This kid is absolutely special, and it's a very full quarterback room over there. Jonah, T, some of those guys, super talented kids. So seeing Jax get this work so early on, like, man, I'm just wondering what this team is going to look like, in the future. Down the stretch, Roy Oliver is going to be an absolute monster. And coupled up, obviously, like with Jacob Brown and like guys like that. Once my guy Reese Rinaldi, free 17, once he's available to play, I think that the sky's the limit. Sky is the limit. And before we finished with Perry, I was going to ask, like, how close is Perry to cracking this top three? Like they've never been one of the really, like, not in a long time, the final three teams that we talked about ever since the Purdy's left. But like, how close are they? How close are they to really getting back into this conversation, to being at the top of CUSD?
I don't know. It's a lot remains to be seen. I mean, the depth that Hamilton has is very, very impressive. Chandler, which we'll talk about, obviously they're 2-0. I think Perry is close. I mean, I think we all agree that the way that Coach Ortiz has guided this team upwards, he's getting the pieces. They've always had that internal support. I mean, from AD to assistants to the school to Perry Nation, all of that sort of stuff internally. So, I mean, they're close. I mean, this is a big year, I think, for Ortiz. I think he's chomping at the bit. I think he's saying, hey, I want to get to the top of the seat. I think he's ready. I mean, we'll just have to see the back half of the season. It's going to be fantastic, but they were number 3 in the division last year. They did defeat Casteel, so we'll see if they can get another win.
Hey, before we move on, I really got to show some love to Coach Dixon and Brett. I know that you're going to get another opportunity to talk to Coach Dixon during the season at some point, about the team. But I really got to give some love to Coach Dixon, because when me and Ralph talked about Dixon taking over Hamilton, I was one of the ones that was a little concerned in the best ways possible about kind of age and youth and experience and taking over this big juggernaut program. And I think he's done a great job, man. Week 1 versus Casteel, being able to play chess with Coach Taylor, and then week 2 versus Desert Ridge. You go up big, and then these guys start coming back, and to be able to just get just end the game with a victory and end up on the right side of the scoreboard and keep your guys going in the right direction. I think that's a big thing, and some of my concerns obviously proven wrong, and for the best reasons and in the best way. So I just want to say that.
Absolutely. The Huskies will be all right. And they play their first Friday night game of the year, actually, up in Anthem against the 0-2 Boulder Creek Jaguars. The Chandler Wolves, they crushed the Mountain Lions of Mountain Ridge High School 63-3. Fellas, this may sound weird, but the last time they scored 60 points in an in-state game, October 23rd, 2020, 63-7 over Higley. Running clock in the first half of this one. It seems like Chandler had scored 60 or more prior. They did that in an out-of-state game since then, but in-state they hadn't dropped 60 since that date. We knew about Carter Ochoa, Will Menzel playing good football. The running game was impressive. Tristan Halsana, 132 rushing yards and 3 TDs. Kerry Johnson, a name that I was unfamiliar with, Chile. He topped the century mark as well.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this numerous times, and I know recently me and Ralph have talked about this. Chandler, this is when they're the best, when they have an established run game, 2 guys handling that business, one popping off for well over 100 yards, and then the other one getting close to the century mark, and now they have that back. This is the Chandler that we know, and they're doing the things that they have to do, and big victories. We shouldn't be too surprised about that. I think they're going to get a couple more, on their way to Premier Region play at least. So I'm excited for them. I love what Coach Garrettson is doing. Look, a couple years ago, people were talking about like Coach Garrettson, we need to move off of him. So treated so unfairly. All he's done is had success for the most part at Chandler. But everybody knows everything on the internet. So I want to show some love to Coach Garrettson and everything that he's done, elevating his longtime freshman coach, Coach Boyd. Coach Boyd is out there on Friday nights doing a lot of things, super active coaching and stuff, not just managing numbers and things like that. I love what's going on over there at Chandler.
Ralph, I said it was important for this team to start off 4-0. They are halfway there. And what's good is they got the blowout win Friday night, but the week before they had the close game and then pulled away. So they've been involved on both ends of the spectrum as they march to more and more wins.
Yeah, and I mean the names we knew before the season are showing up. Aiden Browder is leading this team in tackles. Obviously Tristan Alsana is he's getting closer and closer to that dude status, I think.
That's fair.
I mean, it's tough because we're talking about Chandler High running backs. Like the list is long, right?
DJ Green, Drake Anderson, Chase Lucas,
Carlos
Brooks. Like, yeah, it doesn't stop.
So he might be one of them ones. He might be. He looks good.
Sounds like it.
He looks really good, and so I'm excited to see if that continues.
Good stuff. No, we definitely wanted to continue. And they will travel to Mesa. They will take on the unbeaten Westwood Warriors. It will be their first Friday night game of the year as well. The Basha Bears, they're 2-0 after their 47-3 blowout win over the Mesa Jackrabbits. Noah Roberts, 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I don't have to tell anybody about their quarterback, Brodie Vehrs. A matter of fact, let's hear from him. He can talk about himself and his comfort level running that Basha Bears offense. Brodie Vehrs, I'm standing next to him. He had a solid game as they blew out the Mesa Jackrabbits. I don't know, 47-3. Is that what it was? That was the final. Brodie, let's kind of break it down. Not so much the game, but just you being QB1. Let's talk about your receivers. You've got Jaden. You've got Cash. You've got Gio. Tell me about your comfort level hitting those guys in stride a lot of times.
Yeah, for sure. You want me to grab it? Or?
No, you're good.
Oh. I got all the trust in my dudes. I mean, they work hard for me every day. You know, we come to practice. They're grinding for me. Really what I gotta say, though, is they always believe in me. You know, it's a different type of family when you got people who pick you up no matter what the cause is, you know? So, I could have a bad ball or they could drop a pass, bad read. It's always going to be like, hey, you got the next shot, come back out.
Short memory.
Got your back, you got mine, you know?
The running game, you had some guys scoring. Obviously, the main back is Noah Roberts, but you also had other guys scoring TDs. Tell me about just that comfort level, knowing that you got a guy who can break off for 80 yards, as he did at the beginning of the second half.
First thing I got to say is all props to the O-line,
Yeah, we're going to talk about them in a minute.
Yeah, honestly, you could put any running back behind them, and they can shine. So we got, Noah Roberts, of course, Isaiah McIver, transfer Josh Gaines. We got dudes back there. So being able to, hand the ball off and just let them go to work, it's really a blessing.
And the offensive line, yes, we'll finally get to them, and we give them props. You as QB1, you've got to be comfortable knowing that sometimes you can't even see over these guys, but they got your back.
Yeah. Those are my dudes, man. We bond every day, joke around, but when the time comes down to it, we're going to lock it in, and, we're really going to show what this offense is about. I think we have one of the best offenses in the state for sure.
Absolutely.
I think it's just, time will tell,
The O-line really impressed me in the sense of you showed some good footwork. Third quarter, you were running down the sidelines. You got pushed, in my mind, maybe even a little bit late. And I don't know which O-line guy it was. Get the F off him. I mean,
it
was good.
Yeah, they got my back. It's a great feeling, especially when something like that happens. It shows they care. So, he maybe drop the F-bomb, but
it's all good. It happens every now and then.
Yeah, but I really appreciate what they do for me, and I don't think it goes enough without saying that those are my guys, Offense is not going to work if we don't have them,
Any pressure? Probably not right now, but maybe going into last week, game one, we know who the QB was for the last 4 years. Oh, what's he going to do? You got to be you, and so far you're doing that. Tell me about that kind of mentality, knowing that there was a 4-year starter right before you.
For sure. I think I have to give props to my parents. They've really walked me through it about building a path on my own. Of course, we had Damon. He did amazing things for this school, but it's a new timing. It's a new generation. So I think it's time for me to show the state, myself, my coaches, my teammates what I could really do.
Defensively, I heard one of your defensive coaches in the huddle just now saying 3 points. That's more like it. Tell me about this defense. It's good.
Every day, we're butting heads with them.
Ones against the ones. Yeah.
I truthfully, I think we have one of the most electric defenses in the state. It's a bunch of young guys who fly around. Sadly, we lost one of our main backers last week, Dante Bruley, so prayers up to him. But, we're going to bounce back. We're a young team, but we're definitely going to fight. And just being able to have faith in them, week one, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it's the strongest on both sides of the ball, but we came out a little slow, and they really showed what they can do.
This is the first of several interviews you and I will be doing. Great meeting you.
Thank you. You too.
Ralph, that's a poised young man right there. I mean, he's the guy. I mean, he said the right things. He's just very comfortable in all facets. I look for great things from him.
Yeah, hey, and you can't just be laying on somebody's teammate. Come on now. Got to get that handled, right?
Yes, indeed. I mean, it was funny. It was basically, hey, get the F off him. It was terrific.
I like it. I can't wait to watch him play more than just online on a screen. The way that you talked about seeing him play this last week, your highlights of Noah Roberts they were so much fun to watch, man. He's becoming exactly what we thought he was going to be. And if Liberty hadn't shut out O'Connor for the 50th time in the last 2 years, maybe we would have bumped Basha up to be the number one team.
Oh, man.
Because just this offense, it looks so dangerous. And if Brodie Vehrs is going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the state, and they have one of the top young running backs in the state, and they have arguably the top 6A receiver in the state, then, who's going to stop this offense?
Chili, 8 different receivers caught balls, 8 different ball carriers. I mean, it's like Ralph said, the offense is great. And it's not just centered around 2 or 3. I mean, they can go wide, they can go deep. It's nice. It's nice to see.
No, this team has had one of the toughest like freshman teams past few years. They've done a great job of breeding kids through the program and getting kids to buy in and believe and trust their process of what they got going on. Brodie's absolutely special. Loved watching him play and develop. Like I've said before, he started his freshman year at Chandler, and then decided to move to Basha and play JV. Like he wasn't one of those guys I was like, oh hey, no, I need to get my varsity letter jacket or whatever and walk around school and be cool. Like I want to develop. I want to become a guy for the program and lead this program once Damon leaves, and that's what he's doing. And man, he's an absolute gift. And they got so many receivers over there. Cash Brock, obviously Gio Richardson, Dash,
Cash and Dash. Cash and Dash.
They got so many guys over there that Basha should be excited about. This team is just loading up and loading up and loading up with talent. And the trenches are solid with Hildebrand, Garcia passing the torch to Hildebrand. Defensively with Cronin, Trey Knox will be coming back. Blue Dantzler, who I haven't even had the chance to mention on the podcast yet, but this dude is absolutely going to be a problem. I don't want to look too far ahead, but I was one of those guys. I was really worried about Mission Viejo, and I really think that this Basha team growing together is really closing that gap. And maybe that game versus Mission Viejo is going to be a lot closer than a lot of the skeptics kind of think.
And before they take on Mission Viejo, they will host the Saguaro Sabercats. Saguaro currently 0-2. I think we're saying everything that we need to say about Bash. I got to check out their film room after the game. I mean, you can still smell the newness of the building. I mean, you guys know these campuses. They're so big, and you put a building here and there. It's like, oh, wait, that was just dirt. And now it's 105 seats in there, and it's very, very cool. I mean, they're no pun intended, they are for real building something over there. So it's
that's right. We're catching up to you, ALA Queen Creek. We're gonna have good facilities too.
Dang. Come on.
Stuff. Well, as always, wow, we knocked out the 8 teams. I mean, it's 6-2 a week ago. We'll see what they do this week, but overall, it'll be good stuff.
Can't go undefeated.
Hey, hold on. That is true. That is true. Hey, for each of you guys, biggest surprise so far from our Seton teams. What's been the biggest surprise? Maybe it's a player. Maybe it's that Perry made it out of California 2-0. What's been the biggest surprise for you guys so far?
For me, it's Valley Christian at 1-2. I mean, you just never want to assume, oh, hey, they're going to be 2-1, they're going to be 3-0. But I think if one of us someone said, oh yeah, they're going to lose 2 of their first 3 games, we'd have been like, well, did somebody get hurt? What's the scenario? So that to me is the initial surprise.
I would say Luke Aguilar being on pace for 1,600 rushing yards for Seton Catholic, a team that has really only ever had 2, in my memory, 2 dominant running backs in Mikey Castro and Antonio Campanella. And so he's in rare territory right now through 2 games, but I mean, the results are pretty phenomenal.
It's good stuff. As always, great chopping it up with you guys. We have Seton indeed on point, on lock, however we want to phrase it. Until next week, guys, he's Chili, he's Ralph, I'm Brett. See you guys.